All right. Hi, everybody. I would like to welcome you all to the October 2024 Radius Community Meeting. Welcome, everybody. Thank you for joining and excited to talk through our very packed agenda today. So, as always, we'll run through some welcome kind of housekeeping items. We'll talk a little bit about community events and activities that are coming up that we encourage all of you to participate in. And then we'll talk a little bit about some roadmap updates. We'll then go into talking about what was a part of the highlights of our most recent v.0.38 release. And then we'll jump in with some demos of some new features that were built by the team and the community. And then we'll close off with kind of some general Q&A. So a couple of housekeeping items before we get started. Please remember that this call is for you. This is for you to get the latest on Radius and to get out of the community what you need out of the community. So please be active in the chat. We can engage with you and answer your questions. You can raise your hand during the call if you'd prefer to ask your questions via voice, and one of the moderators of the meeting will unmute your microphone so that you can ask your question. But yeah, please feel free to keep engaging into the chat window. We have moderators from the Radius team ready to answer any questions that you have or might come up. And then please remember to join our RadApp.io Google group if you haven't done so already to learn about Radius and subscribe to updates and news about Radius. It's usually release announcements are the most common thing you'll get from this Google group, and then you'll also get invitations to all the community meetings and community events that we host from the Radius community. And then with that, I'm going to transition over to talk a little bit more about some upcoming events that we're very excited about participating in and bringing some Radius representation into. One of them is KubeCon North America. So in November 2024, KubeCon North America, Ryan Nowak from our group will be joining two panels within the KubeCon North America conference. The first one would be a panel with open source maintainers, and here is the link to the event if you're interested to go check it out and add to your schedule. And then the second panel is with the Tag App Delivery Working Group. So the App Delivery working group will have a panel, and Ryan Nowak from the Radius maintainer group is a part of this tag and will be joining that panel. So click on the second link here to check it out and perhaps add to your calendar if you're interested. And then also in November, in the same location as KubeCon North America, we will also be representing Radius at BackstageCon. So we have been accepted as a lightning talk session, and we will talk about how the Radius dashboard leverages the Backstage platform to build our dashboarding and visualization experience. We'll have a quick 10-minute talk and a very, very lightning quick demo. So if you're interested in this, please check out the event link and add to your calendar if you would like to join this session. And then other things we want to highlight for the community are new blog posts that we've posted over the past month. And this past month, we've posted this blog post about separating cloud and non-cloud functional tests in our pull request workflows. So feel free to check it out. One of the maintainers on the Radius team wrote the blog post and offers some advice on how to nicely separate cloud and non-cloud functional tests in your GitHub workflows for for running more efficient testing strategies. So feel free to check it out, and hopefully you enjoy the latest blog post. And then we'll run through our roadmap real quick. So every month we go over our Radius roadmap and talk about kind of like the latest developments. And the roadmap is always available and always up to date in this link here. You can click over here, aka.ms/radius-roadmap. This link will take you to the project board within our GitHub repository, where you'll see kind of the most up-to-date roadmap presented as a task board here. So a couple of highlights from the past month. We were able to actually complete a bunch of roadmap items over the past month. So specifically, we completed workload identity for cloud providers, so that we now support workload and service identity for both AWS and Azure. So definitely go check that out in our docs if you're interested to leverage those features. And then we also completed private registry authentication for recipes. If you remember a couple of weeks ago or a couple months ago at this point, we launched the ability or the feature to enable authentication into private Terraform registries. And most recently, we've launched the feature to allow authentication into private Bicep registries. So that nicely caps off this particular roadmap item. So up next on our roadmap and our plate is GitOps integration. So we're actively building this and making some good progress. The design has been completed and finalized, and we're now on execution mode for implementing this. So more to come on that in future community calls. And then we're also focused on capping off our Terraform recipes enhancements by completing the work to containerize the Terraform recipes driver. And then on our designing radar, where we continue to iterate and prototype through user-defined resource types, and also starting some design work into Dapr integration into the Radius control plane. We actually have some community contributors who are looking to help with that effort as well. And then, as usual, we'll have a running list of proposed and accepted roadmap items. So feel free to go in there and upvote any of these that might appeal to you. And your upvotes and your comments serve as the input that we take to decide on our priorities. So please definitely go check that out. And without further ado, I'd like to run through our features that were included as a part of our latest 0.338 release. And we'll demo some of these features as well. So the first one is secret stores and environment variables. So this was a community contribution, and I believe the community member who contributed this is not able to join this month. So we're going to save the demo of this for the next month's community meeting. But this feature was added by a community contributor who enabled referencing secret stores to be injecting secrets into environment variables within the container resources within Radius. So prior to this, we didn't allow for referencing of a secret store in the environment variables, which meant in the application definition, you frequently had to hard code or reference in plain text the actual secret values to inject into the environment variables for your container. But now you can actually go reference a secret store and pull the secret to be injected as an environment variable at deploy time, so you don't have to store these secrets in plain text. So a great addition to Radius and by the community, and very excited to be able to show you the demo next month. And then we also added a community member also contributed a secret store reference in Dapr components. So this feature was added to bridge a gap in the Dapr resource that was found with regards to referencing secret stores in the Dapr resource metadata. So we'll get a demo of this here in a little bit. But many thanks to community members for contributing that. And then lastly, we have someone from the Radius maintainer team, um, Vishwa, who will do a live demo of the Bicep private registry support. So as I mentioned earlier, we added support for authenticating into private Bicep registries for pulling recipes from these private registries for your Radius deployments. And Vishwa will demonstrate some of this. And this feature caps off nicely the private registry support in general, because now we support private Terraform repos, and then we also now support private Bicep registries for recipes. So a lot of exciting demos coming up, and actually, before we get into demos, we'll talk a little bit about contributions and the full changelog of our .38 release. Thank you for all the main hard work of the maintainers and community contributors who made this release happen. So this is the full changelog. You can click on the version 0.38 link to see the full release notes and the full changelog. And then as per tradition, every time we have new contributors from the community, we want to call them out here and give them a shout out. So at LBZSS made their first contribution in number 7847. So that's their first PR that got merged. Very excited for these first-time contributors, and thank you very much for your continued contributions to Radius. So these are all live links. You can feel free to click on their username or the PR if you're interested to see what our new contributor added to Radius. And then on the topic of new contributors, we maintain a set of good first issues or issues tagged with good first issue tag. And these are, if you've never contributed to Radius before, or if you have, just time for a smaller, kind of more contained issue to address, feel free to check out these two links here. These will take you to our filters for our good first issues in both the Radius, main Radius repo, and then also the Radius dashboard repo. And these are good issues and good places to get started with contributing to Radius. And if you have an affinity for UI development, I highly recommend checking out the Radius dashboard good first issues. There's a lot of nice UI challenges to solve over there. Great. So getting to the exciting part of our community call today. We'll start with our first demo. This is from a community contributor, Lucas, who gave us a recording of the demo because he is unfortunately not able to join us today. But he will demonstrate the feature that he contributed, and that's being able to reference secret stores in Dapr components. So I will go ahead and play the video from Luca. Awesome. Thank you, Lucas, for contributing, and we are always excited to work with the community for to accept their valuable contributions. Great. So now we'll move on to our next demo, and this one will be a live demo here from someone from the Radius maintainer team, Vishwa, who worked on delivering this feature. So Vishwa, do you want to take it away?
Yeah, well, thanks. Uh, Let me share my screen. Please confirm once you can see screen.
Yep, we can see it. Perfect.
Yeah. So yeah, hey everyone. I'm Vishwa. I'm from Radius team. I'll be going over a demo for adding support for private bicep uh, uh, registries in Radius. So as we all know, I mean, we already have support for private Terraform modules that we added a couple of months back, and for Bicep, we were using publicly hosted Bicep recipes or on ACR with anonymous pull enabled. But with this feature. From 0.38, we can securely store our recipes in a private Bicep registry, and we support three methods of authentication for accessing recipes from the registries. So one is basic authentication, which can be used with mostly all OCI compliant registries. The other is Azure Workload Identity and ARSA. These are for this is federated identity based authentication, which can be used with ACR, and uh, for ECR we could use ARSA. And we can always use basic authentication for ACR and ECR as well. So similarly, how we do it for Terraform, we need to configure the recipe configuration. Here we create a secret store, and based on the type of authentication we are using, we add those secret values in the data and configure our recipe in the recipe config. So before we had a property called Terraform where we configured all the Terraform related configurations. Now we have a new property called Bicep where we add these configurations like authentication and stuff inside this. So I'm going to show a demo by showing the Bicep files. Okay, let's see. Here now as an operator, I
Can you
am.
can you zoom in a bit on
Oh
this one,
yeah,
please? Thank you.
yeah. Let me
All
know
right, perfect.
when.
This works.
Okay, perfect. Yeah. Uh, okay, so and I already like you can see right there we have documentation for how we can set up Azure workload identity and ARSA on the cluster that could be used with Radius. So what I'm currently doing is I already have a EKS cluster with ARSA setup, and I have already installed uh, a Radius on it. I'm not going to run this command. It's going to take a couple of minutes. So which I've already done. So yeah. Now as an operator, when operate, I mean as an operator when I'm uh, defining the recipes, I also define the recipe configuration. For example, here I'm using a private ECR registry, uh, and the recipe is stored as part of private ECR and the version is 2.0. So for this, I need to add a configuration. In the authentication, I'm going to specify the domain name for the container registry and the secrets as part of the secret store. So you can see here, this here is the secret store resource, and the role ARN is the required value that we need to provide when we are using ECR and with ARSA. And also, if you see, I'm using one more recipe, which is SQL databases, and this is coming from our Docker Hub. So here, similarly, we need to do that, like host name of that, and the Docker secrets are stored in a different secret store, which is this, and this uses basic authentication. For basic authentication, we need to provide the username and password, which are the required keys again. So yeah, and for ACR, I'm going to talk later because I have configured the Azure Workload Identity on a different cluster. I'm going to switch that and talk about that later. So yeah, so these are the changes we need to do as part of deploying environment. And now I'm going to deploy the environment. Environment.bicep meters. I need to provide the Docker password for basic authentication. Password. And the other thing is the ARN for the ARSA type. So I'm going to deploy the environment now. And as part of the Bicep, nothing much changes. Like the developer doesn't really do anything. The most of the configurations are already done by the operator, which takes care of accessing the recipe. Yeah, so now we can see the environment has been deployed. Uh, and here in the app.bicep, you could see we are using RabbitMQ resource and SQL database. And since here we have not provided the name, it's going to use the default recipe. I'm going to deploy, I'm going to switch the environment first to the environment I created. Okay. Bicep. So it is going to deploy these, the RabbitMQ recipe from private ECR and SQL recipe from private Docker account. Yeah, now we can see it is deployed and we can see we can see these being deployed. Like just to confirm, I'm going to check the pods. Yeah, you can see that. Yeah, the SQL one, I think and the RabbitMQ resources are deployed. So this is for ARSA, and I'm going to show the similar stuff how we do it for a workload identity. Yeah, I'm going to install Kubernetes on this cluster. It's going to take a while. So yeah, I'm going to change the template path, which will be the template path of again the same RabbitMQ recipe, but I'm store it in a Azure container registry now. And for that, yeah, you can see the similar stuff has been done here. And for uh, ACR for ACR secret, the required key is going to be uh, the client ID and the tenant ID. And to configure Azure Workload Identity, yeah, you can check the docs here. And this is what you can follow to configure it. And using that client ID and tenant ID, you could provide this, and the type should be Azure Workload Identity. So that is all. Yeah, I think it takes. Yeah, looks like it is completed. I'm going to switch the context to a different cluster. Radius. Initialize radius. Okay, so if you see, like I haven't set the flag yet, so I'm going to reinitialize it by setting the flag workload identity, which you can find it here as well. Yeah, so this is the flag that we need to set to enable workload identity in Radius, and similarly for ARSA, while installing Kubernetes on the cluster, we set this flag equals to true. Okay, I'm going to reinstall it. I think I don't have a comment. So I'm setting this flag, I'm reinstalling it. Okay. Yeah, it takes a minute. And now we need to provide the client ID and the tenant ID as part of the parameters. Yeah. It's taking a little longer. Uh, yeah, it's very completed. I'm going to create the group. And similarly, I am deploying the environment. Okay, so I deploy in the same parameters. Parameters are Docker password, client ID, and the tenant ID. So client ID. Okay, so yeah, now yeah, deploying the environment, which word. Yeah, now the environment is deployed. Similarly, I'm going to switch it. Switch it to the one that I created. And yeah, as I mentioned, there is no changes to the RAD, the application file. So now, yeah, for the RabbitMQ recipe, it is going to be pulled from the private Azure registry, which is mentioned here. Yeah, it is deploying. Yeah, so you can see it has deployed, and you can see the pods for RabbitMQ and SQL. Yeah, I think looks like there is some error, but uh, yeah, it's nothing to do with the recipe being pulled and getting deployed. So yeah, we can see that it is pulling the recipe from private container registries and was able to deploy. So yeah, this is all. Let me know if you have any questions.
Thanks, Vishwa. This was awesome. Like I love that you demoed the portability of the application across clouds with both AWS and Azure. So very cool. Thank you for the demo.
Thank you.
All right, so let me bring the deck back up online, and then we'll continue on with the tail end of our agenda. All right, so the tail end of our agenda is really just thank you slide to share a few resources for you to engage with the Radius community. So definitely check us out on our Discord server. You'll get very real-time feedback and answers from folks in the community in our Discord chat server. You can go ahead and check out our GitHub repo and feel free to give it a star if you like what you see. Join the RadApp _IO Google group to subscribe to the latest Radius news. And then keep an eye out for the community call as we kind of determine the next community call date, and we'll announce it. And then, as always, feel free to give us feedback about what you think. And then before I close off, I wanted to run through real quick. I had some folks from the community reach out to me asking how they can go ahead and upvote or interact with our roadmap items. So I'll send a reminder link that our roadmap is stored in this location as a GitHub project board. And I wanted to just do a quick demo of how you can interact and upvote in our roadmap. So let me share my window. And you'll see here when you click on the aka.ms link, it will take you into the Radius roadmap in our GitHub board. And within this board, you'll see all the swim lanes and all the individual roadmap items. So for example, if you are particularly interested in something in the proposed column, if you are interested, for example, in the Radius Terraform provider, you'll be able to click onto it. It will pop up a screen that will give you a little bit more details of the roadmap item. And then you can go ahead and click this thumbs up to upvote the item. You can also add some comments to ask questions about how the implementation will be, and add some feedback on what you think about the roadmap item. And then we take all these upvotes and this interaction as input towards our prioritization when we determine what gets accepted into our roadmap and what gets pulled into design and development next. So definitely interact with our roadmap this way and provide us with the signals on your preferences. And let me bring the slides back online. And yeah, now we'll conclude the call and move on to our open Q&A session. So I will stop the recording now, but the Radius maintainer team will hang out here. So if you have any questions, you want to hang out with us and give us some feedback or ask some questions, please feel free to raise your hand or type your questions or feedback in the chat. So I'd like to thank everybody again for joining, and we hope to see you again next month.